Welcome to Wine Club. This is a playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And unfortunately, today's offender was actually listed as the Book of the Month's Book of the Year. I'm here to talk about Abby Jimenez's Yours Truly. So, warning, there are going to be spoilers in this review, and as I also say in all my reviews, this is solely about the book, not about the author as a person. I'm sure she is lovely. She lives in Minnesota, where I grew up, so she has to be a nice person, because we're all nice in Minnesota, right? That's why they kicked me out. Let's go ahead and see what this promised. Oh, also, fair warning, I'm like 99% sure that the main character, her name is supposed to be pronounced Brianna. It's Briana, Dr. Brianna Ortiz. As you just heard, I have a really good friend named Brianna. I'm probably just going to end up calling her Brianna during this review because my brain sees that name and can't pronounce it any other way. So my apologies, but again, I'm sure it is supposed to be Brianna. But here we go. Dr. Brianna Ortiz's life is seriously flatlining. Her divorce is just about finalized. Her brother's running out of time to find a kidney donor. And that promotion she wants? Oh, that's probably going to the new man doctor, who's already registering 80-7 on Brianna's pain-in-my-ass scale. But when all systems are set to hate, Dr. Jacob Maddox completely flips the game by sending Brianna a letter. And it's a really good letter, like the kind that proves that Jacob isn't actually Satan. Worse, he might be this fantastically funny and subversively likable guy who's terrible at first impressions. Because suddenly he and... oh wow, we're throwing in a nickname already. He and Bri are exchanging letters, sharing lunch dates in her sob closet, and discussing the merits of freakishly tiny horses. But when Jacob decides to give Brianna the best gift imaginable, a kidney for her brother, she wonders just how she can resist this quietly sexy new doctor, especially when he calls in a favor that she can't refuse. So, like I said, I got this for free from Book of the Month, as it was their Book of the Year pick, and I have seen Jimenez all over Bookstagram, so I was really excited to get one of her titles. But at the end of the day, this was fine, I guess. I had an open mind going into this, knowing that it's book 2 in a series, and honestly, I don't think I'm missing out much by not having read the first one. I think maybe there's like a few references or nods to the previous installment. But romance isn't my favorite genre. And I honestly did start out liking this. And then probably about the halfway point, it really started to get harder and harder to pick up. In a way, it was just too hallmarky and too angsty at the same time. And too much for my tastes. And Brianna, I'm gonna do my best. She really started to drive me up the wall. I liked for the most part that at the beginning she's pretty confident, she's sure of herself, and isn't afraid to be herself. She likes herself. But by the end, I kind of wanted to reach into the book and just slap her around a little bit. Where did the funny, smart girl go? Did she have a brain transplant off page at some point? Are her lips sewn shut so she can't ask basic questions? Like, it comes to the point where, again, spoiler warning, like, she's told over and over and over again that Jacob is obviously making, like, goo-goo eyes at her and loves her. But then internally she's all, oh no, he still loves his ex. Even though his ex, who's still in the picture, tells Brianna that she's never seen Jacob look at another woman the way he does when he looks at Brianna. Even her, and they dated for like 2 years. This bitch just can't pick up any signals. So, obviously, this is a romance. They end up, getting together. So they finally succumb to their unresolved sexual tension and bang it out. But immediately, Brianna thinks, like, Jacob must be lying to her about loving her and basically just completely shuts down. Like, they may still be in the act or connected when she starts having her freak out and just doesn't tell him anything and just basically tells him to, like, leave her alone. I don't get it, because then she goes on this big, like, rant about he's obviously just like every other man, which means he's a waste of space and will eventually hurt her. What in the what? It makes no sense. Like, absolutely no sense. It's literally there so we can have a third act conflict / breakup, but it's stupid and contrived, and I hate it. I was rooting for you, Brianna. We were all rooting for you. But come on. Jacob. So I had never actually heard of the term cinnamon roll hero, but I guess Jacob is the epitome of that, which I can see. He's a very sweet guy. But he has no flaws. Truly, he is perfect. He is too perfect. He's so perfect. It's like he's the prototype of like the Stepford husband. At some point, he kind of started reading like how I would have written a boyfriend when I was 13 and knew nothing about men or relationships. Like, not gonna lie, I totally found one of my diaries from when I was like in middle school, and it had this list of like traits that I expected my future partner to have, and I found it and I just laughed and laughed because I thought this was like build a man instead of like actually just having a relationship with another human being. But that is how Jacob starts to come off. He is just all these perfect traits, and like he has anxiety, and I do think the rep was really good. But is that his flaw? I guess he does get jealous at some point, and it was a little over dramatic. But otherwise, he has no flaws. He has no flaws. He is not even a pretzel. He's a frickin' Twizzler with how much he bends over backwards so he can accommodate Brianna, who at times treats him like crap. But I also have to hold him accountable because he just keeps coming back for more. Like I said, I did like how his anxiety was represented and how well Brianna does with being able to like support him in a way that works for him and actually shows that she cares. Like she is making sure that he is okay. That was really sweet. That was great. But there's a point where she is basically labeled as the cure for his anxiety, and it basically just goes away. I don't think it works that way. Like, sure, he probably feels better around her, but he makes it sound like his problems just like fly out the window. He's on medication for his anxiety. She's not medication. This book also has every single romance trope you can think of. We've got fake dating, we've got coworkers, we've got recovering from recent heartbreak or a breakup, miscommunication. And apparently everyone in this freaking universe is super fertile, as there are 4 pregnant women by the end. 4. To be fair, one of them starts out of the book being pregnant. But come on, 4 characters in this little cluster all being pregnant at the same time? It's a little ridiculous. I don't think any of my friends were even pregnant at the same time. So one of the pregnant ladies we've got, who is Jacob's, our main guy's ex-girlfriend, Amy, who is lovingly enough marrying Jacob's brother, and they announce at their little bridal shower, bridal party, whatever, engagement party maybe, I don't even know, they announce that she's expecting. And I hope a velociraptor comes out. And wouldn't you know it, Brianna's ex-husband's new wife, who was the woman that he cheated on Brianna with, is also pregnant. Like, what a small, birth control-free world they all live in. And then, of course, Brianna has an unexpected pregnancy with Jacob. You get a baby, and you get a baby, and everyone gets babies in this book. Also, apparently, Brianna, basically felt the egg attached to her uterine lining, as she knows the second she got pregnant. Now, I'm not a mom, so I don't know. But it read really weird to me. Please feel free to correct me in the comments if this is an actual thing that happens to people. I'd love to be proven wrong. Just read really strange. She's in the elevator and is basically like, oh, I'm pregnant. Don't most people know when they, feel sick or their boobs hurt, or they miss a period? I guess I've not seen it represented in media a lot of people just being like, oh, I know. Do ya? Do ya? So, sticking with the pregnancy, they all seem a bit convenient for the plot, but whatever. It's fine. I'll take it. This book also does touch on miscarriage, so if that is a trigger for you, please proceed with caution. But it's also not really explored or talked about. It kind of just felt like Jimenez added it to add some trauma to Brianna's backstory. We literally hear about it once or maybe twice. And then we move on. Like, it doesn't really seem to be an issue for Brianna, but then it is, but then it isn't, because she never really talks about it, so it's there. I don't know what it's doing, but it's there. So with the tropes, it's the miscommunication that started to turn my vision red while reading this. They're both doctors in their 30s, but refuse to have a simple conversation or explain anything, or apparently understand how pregnancy happens. The miscommunication aspect of this was infuriating, as this becomes the plot at the halfway mark, and I just couldn't take them seriously anymore. I hated going back and forth between them as they bottled their feelings up and made so many assumptions and just believed that they were right. You're doctors. Get a second opinion, for Pete's sake. And the miscommunication just really slows the book's pacing down to a freaking crawl, and it just gets so repetitive. We go over the same issues again and again and again and again. We have Brianna thinking that Jacob is still in love with Amy. Jacob thinks that Brianna could never love him back. And repeat for 15 chapters. Like, I get it. Let's move on already. Also, here's a thought. How about you talk about it? I guess I can't expect much from these two. Like, maybe they're super book smart, but not really wealthy in the common sense. They agree to do the fake dating thing, but then don't realize how it will actually play out or affect their work, since like some of their family is also in the healthcare industry. Can I not go to this hospital because I don't want these people treating me? The ending also kind of irked me, which, oh, what a shocker given how this review has been going so far. But I hated that Brianna pushes Jacob away after confirming that she's preggo. I get that she has issues with her trusting other men, but Jacob has done nothing to lose her trust the entire book. In fact, he has been the one that has been telling or showing her that men can be trusted. She can find a good guy. And then he has to basically show her his journal to prove that he loves her. He shouldn't have to, though. Brianna has some healing that she has to do and some self-reflection. She can't put all of her trauma on him or expect him to just fix her. She has to fix herself and take a leap of faith in trusting him. Be cautious, sure, but it really rubbed me the wrong way that she takes her anger and her hurt out on him, and I don't think she apologizes, and he doesn't hold her accountable for that. It's not okay. Now, a few things that I did like. I did like the letters, and I loved both of their families. There were also some like funny and comedic moments in this supposed rom-com at the beginning, and I did like their romance at times. Learn how to talk. You're adults. Use your words. Or at least put them down on paper by writing each other another letter explaining how you really feel about each other. I also did appreciate the authenticity of Benny's experience of being on dialysis and essentially slowly losing his hope and kind of his own will to live. And I do understand his experiences a little bit better based on the author's note at the end. If you do read this, I do recommend checking out her note about the book. At the end of the day, I have to give this 2.5, maybe 3 if I have to round it up for the graphic that I'm going to create for this video. But I honestly think if the pacing had been tighter and we didn't have so much repetition of their internal monologues and issues and problems and their little angst, this probably would have been a solid 3-star read. Still not great, but it would have been better. But for how long their issues dragged on and on and on, this definitely dropped it into the 2-star range. I also did find it a little bit too corny for my taste at times. But again, I'm also not well versed in the romance genre, so take that with a grain of salt. Some people really love Cheeseball. I do when it's done well, and I don't think it was done well here. I also do see a lot of promise in her writing and the characters that she crafts. There is some wit and charm and heart in this, but it's overshadowed by melodrama. I do want to try something else by her, so let me know if you have any recommendations, or if I should read the first book in the series. I think it's The Part of Your World might be the first book. But please let me know, or what other rom-coms you actually really enjoy. Because again, I'm trying to be better at reading romances. They just don't love me. Alright, that wraps up this review. Thank you so much for joining me at Wine Club.